My mango pie recipe is sure to be a conversation starter. Recently, I've realized that mango peach is a common flavor combination in a lot of smoothies and fruit juices. So I said to myself, if peach pie is good and peaches and mangoes are kind of similar, I wonder if it's possible to make an old fashioned Southern style mango pie. There's only one way to find out, so let's get to it. Here in this bowl, I have 3 cups or 24 ounces or 680 grams of mango chunks. I am using frozen mango because here in Chicago, fresh mango can be hit or miss. But if you have really good fresh mango, go ahead and use that. Like I said, frozen fruit that is thawed. I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of plain white sugar, 160 grams as I measure it, along with half a cup of plain water, just to give it a little more juice, 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, 30 grams, 1 tablespoon of freshly squeezed lemon juice, 1 teaspoon of lemon zest, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. I have an 8-inch pie crust off to the side that I've par baked. I just put the crust into the pie plate. I pricked it with a fork about 5 times and I baked it at 350 just to pre-cook the bottom a bit so that it didn't turn out soggy. And my second pie crust is in the refrigerator cooling. And before I put the pie into the oven, I'm going to sprinkle the top with 1 tablespoon of white sugar and 1 tablespoon of light brown sugar. This mango pie recipe is really easy. Once the mango is prepared, all you have to do is mix everything together. So I'm just going to take my sugar. I said 3/4 of a cup. I'm using all white, but if you want to use a little bit of light brown, I think you could. Extra water. Just be mindful, if you use a lot of brown sugar, your pie will not be yellow or golden orange in color. The cornstarch, literally just dumping everything in. 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. I think lime would work as well. 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. And now for the lemon zest, 1 teaspoon. If you don't have fresh lemon, you could use half a teaspoon of lemon extract, because for every 1 teaspoon of zest, the substitution would be half a teaspoon of extract. And now all I'm going to do is mix everything together, and then I will bring you back. In just about a minute, I finished mixing the mango filling for the pie. You can see it's fully mixed, the cornstarch is fully incorporated. Like I said, my bottom crust is par baked, so now all I have to do is pour in the filling. I'm going to make sure that everything is distributed evenly, and then it's going to be time to put on the top crust. Now that the filling is evened out just how I want it, it's time to put on the top crust. Putting the top crust on a fruit pie is a bit intimidating, but I'll show you how to do it. I am using a homemade crust that I rolled out between 2 pieces of wax paper. I really recommend doing that, but if you use a store-bought crust, it's probably going to come between 2 pieces of wax paper or plastic or something like that. So if your crust is between 2 pieces of plastic or wax paper, just peel off one and then grab it like this with both hands, flip it over, and then just put it on top of the pie like that. Nice and easy. Try to center it as much as you can, but if it's a homemade pie like this one, it's okay if it's a bit off. This is your last opportunity to really position it, so get it to where you want it to be. Like I said, good but not perfect is okay. and then just peel off that piece of wax paper. This, I think, is the easiest way to put the top crust on a fruit pie like this mango pie. As you can see, some of the crust is hanging over, so it's time to trim it. I'm going to take my knife and cut off the crust, leaving maybe 1/4 of an inch hanging over the edge. I'm leaving some hanging over the edge because I am going to make a kind of decorative seal around the edge. So having a little bit extra is a good idea. Just like with anything else, you can adjust it later. I finished cutting off the excess crust. I turned on my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So as it preheats, let's crimp the edges. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thumb and my finger here, same on the other hand, and just go around the edge and seal the top crust on. You could get more creative with your design. You could just take your fork around the edge if you wanted, but I always do this and I think it looks nice. You're just securing the top crust on. Nice and easy. You can see some places the top crust is maybe a bit thin. If it's thinner than you want, just take some of the crust that you cut off and put it on like that. No one will know that it wasn't perfect. I finished sealing the top crust onto the bottom, so now it's time to cut some air vents. It's important when you have a double crust fruit pie like this mango pie to cut some slits in the top so that the steam can escape. You don't have to use a ruler like I'm using, but I like to make things nice. So I tried to find about the middle of the top crust and I made a hole there. So now I'm just going to use the ruler to cut some more slits. Really, you only need maybe 4 slits, but I like to cut more because I use them as a guide when slicing and serving the pie. There we go. This pie is almost ready for the oven. The only thing I have to do now is add the extra sugar. Like I said, 1 tablespoon each of light brown sugar and white sugar. This adds some extra sweetness and a nice crunch to the top. This is going to go into a 350 degree Fahrenheit oven. I'm going to put this on a pizza pan. Be sure to put it on a pizza pan or a cookie sheet, something like that, so that if it boils over, it doesn't boil over onto the bottom of your oven. I will let you know for how long it bakes. I just pulled my mango pie out of the oven. It was in at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, uncovered, for 1 full hour, 60 minutes. This pie turned out perfectly golden brown and smelled amazing, so I couldn't wait to cut the first slice and give it a try. And when I did, I found out that my mango pie recipe with frozen mangoes was absolutely delicious. As expected, this pie definitely reminded me of peach pie. Honestly, if you gave someone a slice of this pie and didn't tell them what it was, I think most people would say that this was peach pie or peach pie with something special added. Although I usually like using at least a little bit of brown sugar in my pies, I'm glad that I used all white sugar this time because, as I said earlier in the video, I was afraid that if I used some brown sugar, it would mute the color, and instead of having a nice orangish yellow filling, it would be kind of brown. I think adding lemon was a good idea. Just like with my pineapple pie, the lemon really brought out the fruity flavor in this mango pie. And as with all of my other double crusted fruit pies, The homemade crust was very flavorful. It had just enough butter to give it a butter flavor, but not so much butter that it overwhelmed the other ingredients in the pie. And the sprinkling of sugar on top, that combination of white and light brown, added some extra sweetness, a little bit of crunch, and a little bit of molasses flavor from the brown sugar that really made this good. Honestly, just like with the pineapple pie, I was surprised by how much I liked this. This was legitimately good. And with a cut slice now up to the camera, you can see the filling inside. You can see the orangish yellow color that I was talking about. That definitely tells anyone eating this that this is a mango pie. Like I said, I thought this recipe was a big success, but I did want to point out a couple things. The first thing I wanted to mention is that although this was definitely good and I really liked it and it did taste like mango, unfortunately the mango flavor wasn't quite as strong as I was expecting. The pineapple pie that I made had a very strong pineapple flavor, and honestly, I felt like it tasted more like pineapple than actual fresh pineapple does. But this mango pie was more of a combination of mango with a little bit of lemon in the background. I think the reason why the mango flavor wasn't quite as strong as I was expecting is that although the frozen mangoes that I used were good, some of the chunks were riper than others, so whether you make this pie with fresh or frozen mangoes, make sure that they're ripe. Another thing I wanted to point out is that although this pie sliced very nicely and wasn't runny at all, if you know me, you know I don't like runny pies, I felt like maybe I used a little bit more cornstarch than I needed, because there were just a few pockets here and there on the bottom of the pie where it seemed like the cornstarch kind of settled. So I'm curious how this pie would turn out with maybe a tablespoon less or half a tablespoon less of cornstarch. But honestly, it's just a small detail. One thing that was kind of surprising is that although this mango pie was very good on its own, adding some vanilla ice cream took this to another level that I was not expecting. It was absolutely fantastic. Usually I eat my pies plain. I think if the pie is very flavorful, adding ice cream isn't necessary. It can actually take away from the fruit flavor of the pie. But for some reason, ice cream made this mango pie even better. So if you make it, I highly recommend serving it with some good quality vanilla ice cream. I know I'm repeating myself now, but I just have to reiterate that this mango pie recipe with frozen mangoes was easy and delicious. This video is the start of my annual Thanksgiving pie recipe series. So if you like peach pie, but you want something different for Thanksgiving, Christmas, or any day, give this mango pie recipe a try. And stay tuned because I have a lot more easy and delicious pie recipes coming before Thanksgiving that I know you don't want to miss. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.